All right, good morning. Welcome back here to Trader Minute. Great to have you aboard. Pretty ugly market open out there this morning, and we'll go take a look at some of that and some of the stocks and how they're trading. I do think it presents a few opportunities here. The couple things I've been looking at for entries, I haven't gotten exactly what I want to see, so I haven't jumped in yet. But hopefully here over the course of the next several hours, we'll get a chance to jump in. No, I did just take off my Pepsi trade and cashed it out here, and took about a $300 gain here on it. It opened up slightly red, kind of made a nice little pop back higher. I still expect it to go higher, but as I mentioned when I made the trade, I just want the challenge off to a good start, and ideally, I was kind of aiming for $500, but at the same time, up this move here, I figured, with everything else going on, I'll take it and go. So out of Pepsi here again. I still expect it to go to 120, but it's still one of those where the market could grab it, the market could yank at it a little bit, but overall probably does pretty well. But anyway, out of Pepsi here and moving on. You can see most of the indicators, nothing near overbought yet, so not sitting at any of those levels, but anyway, out of Pepsi. Now, this market, as I mentioned in my note earlier, it's a very conservative set this morning in terms of the sector breakdown and how it's broken out here today. Technology down 2%, communications 1.3%, discretionary, basically your Santa Claus stocks, I guess, down 1%. Your industrial down 0.7%, healthcare only down 0.2%, materials down 0.2%, energy flat, which is interesting with oil down $1.10. But, the outperformers are utilities, financials, consumer staples, and real estate. It's a very conservative set, on the open this morning. We did see the IWM go green briefly here this morning and then just roll. It just rolled. It just, in fact, let me see if I can pull up the minute chart here and show it to you. But here we go with the open, and it opens up, ticks a little bit lower, pops back up here to 152, goes green, and then whoosh, just drops hard and fast. You look at the Qs, they've pretty much just dropped hard and fast all morning. You look at the S&P, it dropped kind of hard and fast with the Qs. But I probably shouldn't use that term hard and fast just simply because we're not talking about outsized types of moves, right? Yes, excuse me. Yes, there's a move here, but it's not one of these, oh my goodness, this is a huge thing. This is, we're breaking ranges, and, it has great implications on what's going to happen in the future. And this is what it looks like. So far this morning, it's a smaller range on the market than what the market has experienced in the last 6 days. And smaller range than 9 out of the last 10 days, right? So there's still probably going to be more range in the market here today, as so far the range is, relatively tight. But, it definitely has been, downside action today. And, I made the comment, we talked about Apple last week, and, basically if you want to look at where the market's going to go, whether it's going to go up or down, just look at Apple, right? Just look at Apple. And this morning, Apple down as it cuts iPhone estimates for its 3 new iPhone products. And, it's down, and it's dragging the rest of the market here with it. It kind of reaffirms that concern that growth is slowing, right? And it's not a question of whether or not there's growth. There is growth out there. The numbers are showing great growth out there. The market's concern is whether it's a second derivative concern. It's whether the growth is slowing, and that's the concern here. It's one of those where, when you get economic contraction, you get earnings contraction, you never see things get bought as the earnings are on the bottom, as the revenues are on the bottom. It starts to get bought when the earnings growth and the revenue growth stop declining at a heavy rate. In fact, their decline starts to slow. And we're seeing kind of that opposite scenario right now. It is still something that I look at, I still think is a little bit more of a fear than a reality. But either way, it's it's out there and it exists. Now, some of the things I've been looking for entries here, Micron. Which I talked about last week, and then we saw the earnings out of Nvidia caused the gap down. It held up really well on Friday, but I just couldn't get in. Today, gap down, and this is one where if it had gone green, I'd be in, but it just hasn't. It is sold off, here since the open, and so nothing, not really giving me anything there to go ahead and get into. FXI moved away from me on Friday with some of the news that came out. It's trading on down here today, and I bet you anything by the end of the day we look at the volumes on the FXI, and if the FXI is lower like it is now, the volumes are probably going to be lighter than what they've been any day for the last month. It's probably going to be a very light volume day on a sell-off for the FXI. And if that is the case, I think it just speaks volumes. I don't think it says that the FXI can't go to 40 or can't go to 39.5. I think it just says, look, the FXI path of least resistance in the short run is still going to be higher. And, hoping that today get an opportunity to get in and to be able to trade that. If you look at the hourly, there's nothing worth me getting in just yet, right? Fresh gap below the 7-hour moving average. I got to let this, do its thing. But, we start to see it come down to 40-40 or something like that, this afternoon or tomorrow morning. I'll be sorely tempted to go after it. One of the plays, and I keep pricing it out, and I keep not liking the option values, which is ironic, but the VXX, I do think there's a pretty decent chance that we see the VXX over the course of the next week bleed lower. And you look at the VXX, it's only up 60 cents here today, 70 cents here today with the market, pretty much all down. But breaking above that 7-hour moving average, I don't have a technical kind of entry that I want. So haven't had an option entry, haven't had technical entry yet for it. But if we, this is something where if we see it continue to rally today and then fall into the close, I would be very interested in picking some up here. Perhaps one of the stranger things out there is oil, and oil down. Oil kind of fell last night. In fact, let me pull it up here. You can see oil overnight was up, and then started to fall. This is when S&P futures fell, and we've been seeing oil snap back here in about the last half hour. But what was interesting is that even before that snapback, stocks like Halliburton were trading in the green, Schlumberger trading in the green. Some of these energy names were finding some nice little outperformance. And we've had Halliburton come back down to this lower Bollinger Band. This is where I would expect it to find some support. And if you take a look at the MACD, if it does find support here, we have some nice positive divergence in the MACD. So very interested in how a Halliburton, a Schlumberger kind of plays on out here today. They both look very similar. But with Schlumberger, these are definitely bottoming type volumes here on it. My question is just, are they ready to move? Is it ready to actually move? And, so far this morning, we're getting some decent action that suggests, yes, in fact, here on the hourly, you can see Schlumberger piercing that band off the tight bands. We have the stochastics moving back above 50. We have some pretty positive technical action coming in. Halliburton, same, very similar type of scenario here with it. So both of those are two that, I look at and I go, okay, I'd love to get involved in. I do think, though, that if they kind of have this move here this morning and they just kind of hang out here all day, we're going to see the options about 5 to 10% cheaper, into the close. and that is, that's still a very high risk in my opinion, from an entry standpoint. So I kind of like to just give it a little bit, make sure it signals, and then buy it on a little bit of dip, similar to what I did with Pepsi on Friday. So those are just a few of the things that I'm looking at. It's one of those where most things this morning, gave more bearish type moves than bullish type moves. Things like Boeing, just have kind of the bottom dropping out of them a little bit here. This morning continuing to push on down, breaking the lows here from October. And this is a stock that held up extremely well. Right here had a really nice rebound and bounce. And since it has just not been able to find any buyers, and making this tertiary push lower here, and it's not one where I'm going to draw any type of horizontal line and say, well, there's support here, support there, support there. It's a new environment. It's a new world, right? One of the things we have to understand that with most stocks, with most companies, much of this chart doesn't matter. Who cares? It's a new world. It's a new environment. It's a new situation. Market's looking at things differently. So what's that tell me? That tells me I need to see new levels come in. I need to see stocks mark new levels here in the same way that it had to do it after, this kind of February, March, April correction. Right, so I really don't care about the levels that it's at all year. I just don't. It's a new world, and I'm interested in the levels that it starts to create, here and now. So anyway, we'll see. Airlines this morning, some interesting upgrade downgrade action across the board. Things like Delta upgraded, United Airlines upgraded, Alaska Airlines upgraded, JetBlue downgraded. Some differential there. But American Airlines, this is the one that I'm watching for a trade. And I want to see a higher low come in. We see a break of the 7-day moving average finally happening and materializing. So it tells me, okay, the pullback is on. I'm looking for it to come into the retracement area. When it gets there, I'll have a chance to play that and to be involved here with that. But still a little bit early here for it. Okay. All right. So market down 30. You can look at my board here. You'll notice that this isn't a board where everything's falling. There's some differentiation, but you kind of see it in the sector breakdowns here. The Pepsis of the world, the AT&T, Verizon, Tesla, Schlumberger, even a couple of the banks, really holding up. But, in general, tech is just, getting wrecked. It is just getting, it's just not finding any sort of bids come in. That's Microsoft, that's Adobe, which is setting new lows here today, down 5% here on the day, breaking all of these lows that, were so painful to kind of watch, and the bounces off the 7. All right, it's going to go. No, it has failed and it is broken here. So at this point, it needs to see some sort of volume level come into play that would mark the bottom. It is, erase some of the other, type of volume or type of support levels here on it. And there's quite a bit of that going on out there in the market, today. So anyway, I'm out of Pepsi. I'm in cash, and we got first trade under our belt, and we'll look to keep on going again this week. I do have concern about option values and compression there if there's not movement in the stock, but at the same time, there's still a lot of stock movement going on out there. So it's one of those where, if I have a good setup and good option value, I will definitely look to take it. I am not looking to be in cash for very long. And, definitely do not want to go into the close here today in cash. But I'll probably let the next hour and a half play out, see what happens at the European close, and make some decisions from there. Thanks for hopping on. Have yourselves a great one, and we'll talk to you later. Take care.